Hello and welcome to this video for our top-down racer. In this video, we are going to add a lap timer um, to the game. Um, and what we are going to do, we are going to add like colliders along the way. And when we have hit all the colliders, we know we have completed a lap, and then we are calculating the time it took us between the start of the race, the start of the lap, and the end of the lap to give us the time. And when the game is lap is running, we are going to show like the time in the top left or top right, whatever you prefer. Yeah, so let's get started by adding two scripts. One for the checkpoint itself, which is what we are going to hit this one. Wait, wrong. And another script for controlling these checkpoints. So checkpoint controller. There we go. And now we are going to add a new game object. Let's set it as 0. Let's call this the checkpoint controller. Add the script to it. And now we are going to add child game objects for the checkpoints. If you want to call them waypoints, be my guest. Uh, checkpoint, and then we are going to add the checkpoint to it. Component, and now also add a box collider to it. And we are going to make the box collider as a trigger because we don't want to bounce against it. We want to hit it. And now also we need to increase the size a little bit. Now you can see them here increasing. So I'm going to set it like fairly wide because I don't want to. I want the players to hit the waypoints even if they go a little bit off track. You should use barriers to keep them like on the track, so they don't wander off too far and hit the way and don't hit the waypoints. Now I'm going to let's call this waypoint. Shift this a little bit forward, so this will be like the start finish, the first one, and we are going to place these waypoints all around the track. Now you don't need them to like every 10 meters or something, 10 units. I usually put them at the start of the corner and the end of the corner, and sometimes in the middle as well. Um, because you don't really need a checkpoint at the straights. We are going to use a different system for the position on the track, and we're not going to use these waypoints or these checkpoints for it. So I'm going to hit Control D, and I'm going to move the first waypoint to the start of the corner. Now I'm moving it like a little bit up here. So I'm guessing like people want to like attack the corner correct, so you won't need like a trigger here on this side. We just want it here, and maybe someone gets pushed off the track a little bit and starts a corner here out off the track. Yeah, so you're going to use barriers here maybe like a barrier or those tires and stuff. To prevent them like for cutting the corner. So I'm going to move it a little bit down, but that's pretty much it. Now what I usually do, I'm going to hit Control D again and just place one here in the middle of the corner and then here as well. And I'm going to rotate them along the face of the road when I'm done. So going to hit like more of them. Control D, here one. I'm placing like not enough maybe. Maybe you want one more in the corners, but doesn't really matter how many you place. So I'm going to use it like this. And I'm going to the second one, and then I'm going to hit the E key, so I can use my mouse to drag and rotate them around. And because I'm in isometric view and viewing from top down, I can I don't have to worry if it's like placing the whoops, if it's like it's moving the checkpoints below the ground or anything. So I'm going to rotate these And this is like a little bit tedious, but you only have to do it once. And whenever you have a new track, you can simply just add these um, checkpoints to your track, and you're good to go. It will work. Simple yet effective. Okay, there we go. Now the first checkpoint, or maybe the start finish, we need to uh, let them know by hitting a boolean, by giving it a boolean. You could also check if it's like the first waypoint, but I'm going to use a boolean here. So I'm going to open it up. There we go, Visual Studio. Now, if it doesn't resolve the Unity engine reference, so modern behavior stays white, and you cannot really use anything from Unity whenever you add a new script, you can simply right-click the project and say unload, and then right-click it again and say reload, and then it will add the scripts again, and you can continue as you would want to do, as you would do normally. Okay. Now, here we go. So we want to we are using a collider, like I said. So we're going to use the require component here too, just to be correct. And we want a collider. Yeah, doesn't we are not saying which collider. We just want whatever collider. Um, so maybe you could use like a more different collider if you want. Now in the like I said, we make a bool. We call this is start finish. And in the start method, oh, sorry, and we also want the checkpoint controller reference. Checkpoint controller. Now I don't want to be adding like the checkpoint controller to the game object manually, so we are going to add the checkpoint controller in the add method by getting the component in parent of the checkpoint controller. Yeah, so it will find the checkpoint controller in the parent game object. Now be wary of what method you're using, because sometimes you can use like get components and then it will return an array. Um, you need only one component, so it's get component. Yeah. Now in the trigger, when we hit the trigger on trigger enter, it will take a collider, which is the other game object which collides with, which is the other collider which collides with this trigger. Yeah. So we are going to say collided equals to other get component, and we want only to collide with the player car. Yeah. Now, if collided equals null, so we haven't hit with the player car, we want to return. And we don't want to hit anything else than a player car. Now, you would like need to figure out if this is the local player whenever you're playing a multiplayer game. Yeah, we don't want to um, uh, hit colliders from the other game objects, which might be a player car. So you could add a boolean to the player car, which is like the is local player, or you could use a game manager like I usually do, a game manager which assigns the local player and then check it out in the game manager. Um, we're not doing it right now, so we're simply going to say controller waypoint or checkpoint reached. We want to checkpoint controller. We want this method here, and we're going to pass this, which will be the checkpoint class. Yeah, this checkpoint class. Now this method doesn't exist right now, so we're going to hit control period, and then we are going to add the method, and it will automatically add like the reference as well with the to the checkpoint which is passed in. Okay, so this is pretty much it. So if we stay in the checkpoint controller, let's get rid of the start and update for now. So whenever we hit a checkpoint, this will be called. And what we are going to do, we are in the checkpoint controller, we want to know which checkpoint we want to reach next. And then we are going to compare if this is reached, if it's the one we want to reach. If it's true, we are going to set the next waypoint. To make this possible, we need a checkpoint array, which will be all the checkpoints, which we will get at the start of the of the start method of the checkpoint controller, and then we want a checkpoint, which is the current target checkpoint or next checkpoint. Yeah. So at the start method, back again. In the start, we're going to say checkpoints equals to get components. uh, Get components, and now we use the multiple one. So we want the array, like you can see here, of components. So get components, and we want the checkpoint. Of course, I'm sorry, in children. So we are getting the components in the children of the checkpoint controller, and we made them as a child, so that will work. And now the first waypoint we want to reach will be like uh, first the first waypoint, but it's not going to be the start finish. I'm going to explain it right here. If we are going to the checkpoint reached, first we're going to say if next waypoint, if this doesn't, if it's the same as the checkpoint we have just reached, we want to return. Maybe you want to like give a message out to your player that he hit the wrong checkpoint and maybe guide him to the correct one. I'm simply going to return out of the method. Now I'm going to add a new variable here. Let's call this checkpoints reached, which will be like the amount of checkpoints we have reached in a lap. So we are going to say checkpoints reached plus plus. This actually is the same as checkpoint reach is checkpoint reach plus one, or checkpoint reach plus is one. You know, it's the same. This is the best, easiest way to write it down. And then we are going to check if the checkpoint equals to a start finish. Checkpoint is start finish. Then we have like ended lap. Ended lap. Uh, you could like do an else and then continue on, but I prefer to return and leave out this else and then just continue with my code here, because if it's returned it will not continue its code here. So then I'm going to set the next waypoint checkpoint to checkpoints, will be the checkpoints reached, because we already increased the index of the checkpoint reached. Now I could have also checked if checkpoints reached equals the length of the array of checkpoints, then it's also the start finish. Yeah, but I'm going to do it like this for simplicity's sake. So we are ending the lap here. So let's make a method void end lap, not like this, end lap. And then when we are here, we're going to say end lap. Now here we could like check if we are if we still need if we need a new lap, if it's the end of the race or whatever. But I'm simply going to like set the time and then start a new lap, because I'm not using like we're not making a new uh, the number of laps. We're not doing it right now. Maybe we will. I'm not really sure how much time it's going to take. So I'm going to make a new method here, start lap. So when the lap ends, should we continue? Start lap. Yeah. Now in start lap, we are basically going to set the first waypoint, but also set the time of which uh, when we started the lap. So let's make a variable here. Let's call it this float, which is the lap start time. So this will be the time when we start the lap. So it will be lap start time equals to time. Yeah. So will be simply the time. Now we are going to set the checkpoints reached to 1. we're not going to, and we're going to set the next waypoint, next checkpoint, as the checkpoints uh, one as well. I could, if you maybe do it like this, if I ever decide to change it. Now, as you know, an array starts at 0, yeah? Um, so the first waypoint should be 0, but the first waypoint is our start finish. So I'm going to set it to the first one. If I look at Unity here, so the first waypoint will be this one. But when the race starts, it doesn't really matter. We don't really want this one because the lap is going to start at the call and not when we pass this line. So the first waypoint will be this one, which we want to hit. Yeah. Okay. Back in Visual Studio then. So we are going to set like the first waypoint in line, maybe the second. So it's start lap. We have set the lap time. Now, um, when we end the lap, we want to um, calculate the time. So when we end the lap, we say flow lap time equals 2, and then we say the time, so it's the current time, and we retract the lap start time. This will give us like a number which in milliseconds it took, is it milliseconds? In seconds, the number in seconds it took us to complete the lap. Yeah? So if you want to have like a total lap time, you could like increase like the total lap time with the current lap time. Now let's make also use the fastest lap time to check. So we make a float for fastest lap. If you want to like save all your laps, you could like make a list with all the lap times. Yeah? Fastest lap. So then we are going to check if we have the fastest lap. So if lap time, if this is less than the fastest lap time, then we have the fastest lap. But if we don't have a fastest lap right now, um, like when we start a game, we don't have a fastest lap. We set the fast lap. Yeah. So then we could make a method here to update the fastest lap time. So let's make that void update fastest lap time, and we pass in the time of the fastest lap. So if this is the case, we are going to say update fastest lap time. We pass in the lap time. Now in the update time, we're going to say we need like a float. Oh, we already. Yeah, let's make this fastest lap time. We go fastest lap time equals to time, and then we should update text component with this one. Yeah. But one thing, we are getting like a second. Fastest lap time. If we print out this to the screen, lap time, it won't show us like a really cool name. I'm going to show you here. So if we are ending the lap, I'm going to print out the print lap time. And I'm going to add like a small debug here to see if everything works. Print checkpoint reached. I'm not really sure if it's working like we want right now, but we'll see. Um, there we go. It compiles okay. So let's see if it actually does what we want. I'm going to hit play. I'm starting to drive. You cannot really see it very well, I think. Wait. I'm getting more. I don't want this printed out. Let's try again. So I'm driving again. We should hit the waypoint soon, right now, but nothing happens. All right, why not? Whatever hits This is our collider. Let's see. Back to Visual Studio here. Let's check the checkpoint controller. I'm sorry, the checkpoint. So we say print on trigger enter. This is usually how I debug my stuff here. And then we say, then we see if it's print here. There we go. I'm going to move the first waypoint a little bit closer, so I don't have to drive that way that long all the way. Here we go again. You can see it hits the trigger, and then it says here, so that works. Back to Visual Studio. So this part works. Now we're going to the checkpoint reach. Probably the next check waypoint equals to, did we set it? Oh, we don't set it. So that's pretty much it. So when we hit start, let's say start lap. Maybe that's it. Back to Unity and hit play. Checkpoint reach. Yeah, okay, this seems to do. So let's continue the race. I need to make sure that I stay on track. Does it still work? I think so. I'm too busy driving, trying to stay on the track. Whoops. I might have missed one. I'm not really sure. Oh, there we go. We get an exception here. So basically, what happens now? It says the waypoints we have reached is out of index. So we are. Oops. There we go. Now you can see what I see. What happens if you look at the scene? It says gives an index out of range exception. Array index is out of range. This simply tells you that the array we are checking out here, it has increased the checkpoints reached, but we are over the number of the length. So basically, let's see. So we are starting at waypoints reached is 1. So next checkpoint will be the first one. That I think that worked pretty well. Then at the last one, we are going to increase it. But oh yeah, that's it. So we at the last one, but then it's going to increase one more. But we haven't reached the start finish yet. Yeah, makes sense. Because start finish is the first one, the index 0. So we could say here, if the checkpoints reached equals to checkpoints length, we are going to say checkpoints reached equals 0. So then basically the next waypoint will be the first one, which is the start finish. Yeah. Okay, let's give it another try. First, I'm going to move there we go. Move the first waypoint back to the position I wanted to be originally. There we go. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. One more try. Oh, maybe it's not one, but I should have made like a more easy track, like a simple round one. But look, did I miss it now? Possible. So I'm not trying to drive as fast. Maybe I should increase the width of these things. But I can see the triggers moving. So there we go. Last one, I think. Nothing happened. Not really sure why. Let's go back to Visual Studio. Start finish. Do we have I assigned it as start finish? Oh, no. So don't forget to hit the first one as a start finish. Let's see. Oh, wait, back here. I forgot to switch to the scene. I forgot to set the first checkpoint as the start finish. Yeah, so don't make the same mistake as I just did. Now, um, so when we end the lap, we should like print the lap time. Okay, let's give it one more try. Trying to stay track again. I don't really want to waste your time with me driving around, so trying my best here. Mhm. Now we should see the lap time. There we go. So it says 37.12. Yeah. So this is our lap time we just drove, 37 seconds. Now we can format that to like a. It's like right here. We can format that to a better time. So let's first make something to display the text on our screen. So go to UI and make like a new text object. It's right here now in the bottom. I'm going to put it in the top right by hitting Shift and Alt to also set the pivot and the position. So the top left, there it is. Now I'm going to like give it a little bit of room and -15. So it will be right there. Maybe increase the size a little bit. Um, well, whatever you want, a different font, but I don't use any fonts right now. Make it bold, something like this. Okay, we're going to write the time as in 00, 00, 000, 000. Yeah, so minutes, seconds, milliseconds. Let's call this lap time text. Now let's also make a new one by duplicating it and like giving it like -40, and we're going to call this fastest lap time text. Yeah, okay. Now in the checkpoint controller, I'm going to add these two texts. Um, Going to Visual Studio. Usually I would like use a different game object for it, which has all the reference to UI elements, and I make events in the checkpoint controller, which get raised and then the text gets updated. But I'm going to do it plain and simple right here. So let's make a text. You need a reference to the Unity Engine UI, so use control period for that text, and let's call this lap time text, and a text for lap fastest lap time text. Let's see. So if we are, we need to format the time to something else than 37.12. Yeah. So which is pretty easy to do. So we are making a new method which returns a string. It's a private method. We call this format time, which gets in the time as a float, and then we are going to return a string format. So we are going to format the text we are retrieving. Um, we will take the first value, second value, and let's add a period for the milliseconds too. And the value it's going to take will be the, let's make it object here, system timespan. uh, time span. Well, let's call this t. This equals to system time span. We're going to use from seconds. So we pass in a double value or a float value. It will simply take both. We pass in the time, and so it will make a time span object of the float. And then we can say here as the first value, which goes in the curly braces 0, will be the t minutes, which is hardly the case in our lab, but okay. And then we're going to say the t seconds and the t milliseconds. Yeah. Now we are going to format that as well because we want like decimals in front of it. So we want a decimal 2. So it has like a leading 0 here as well. And now we have like of 3 values. Yeah, so it 0, 1, 2. Yeah, it should be okay. So format time. Now when the lab is running, we simply want to update the time. I'm sorry. Here, we are going to say first for the fastest lap time, we're going to say fastest lap time text. Text equals to format time, and we pass in the fastest lap time. Okay, and now for the void update, we can say lap time text equals to format time. There we go. Format time. Um, uh, text. Yeah, so when we're updating, we are always updating the time. Back to Unity. Wait for it to. Oh, I don't have assigned it yet. I don't think I made them visible. No, so we need to like a serialized field to give show these in the inspector so we can assign them. Wait for the compile. There it is. So now we are going to set the lap time text and the fastest lap text. Hit play. Now you can see it's running. And now we start driving. I think you know what's going to happen, but still, oh, that's a nice corner. There we go. Now we should like give it a better lap. Okay, 38.2. We should be able to improve that. So I'm going to do one more lap. Just hope I'm not missing any waypoints because I don't have a queue for it. Come on. There we go. 32. So, yeah, I'm guessing this is it. We have a lap time counter. We have a fastest lap. Next up will be a lap counter, so knowing how many laps we still need to do. It should be very easy for you to do yourself. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and please like and subscribe. I could use a little bit more followers to like push me a little bit more to do more videos. Um, Take care. Bye bye.